'Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back, glad to see you looking fresh, and welcome to my final video of 2022, my favorite video to make every year. It is my best films of the year, my top 20 films of 2022. It's been a long year, for me anyways, and to finally be able to sit down and piece together this list, I have a lot of fun every year making a top 20 list. A little bit of stress because I never want to leave something important out. Having 20 films allows me to include, at least 10 more movies than a lot of people do, so I get to talk about a lot of films here, and I could ramble on forever about piecing them together and finding every small obscure film I can, but of course I can't see everything. There are a couple off the top of my head, such as like Babylon I couldn't get to, the new Dragon Ball movie, I just couldn't get to the theater to see it, and it's gonna be a while before that comes out, stuff like that, where, would they appear on the list? Maybe. But, I didn't see them, so they're not here. In the future, we'll talk about them then, maybe. But as is, this is my favorite films of 2022. Without further ado, let's get this started. At number 20, we have Clerks 3. Now, Kevin Smith is a director where I've seen most, if not everything. No, I don't think I've seen a couple. Most things he's made. I've definitely seen everything now in the View Askew universe, which is his cinematic universe, which is crazy that he was the one that started. And he has a film with Stan Lee in it. So if you haven't seen Mallrats, check that out. But anyways, Clerks 3 is a surprisingly well-made, thoughtful, heartwarming, heartfelt, kind of tragic conclusion to the Clerks trilogy. A film that I didn't really know I wanted. I wasn't a massive fan of the first one. Of course, I saw it middle of high school is when I saw that movie, so I wouldn't have got it then. I should go back and check it out. I watched Clerks 2 in preparation for this one. I thought it was okay, but this one really surprised me. A lot of great character work. It ended really well, way better than I think anyone expected. And it's nice to have a Kevin Smith movie start our list off. Number 19, Terrifier 2. Again, if you would have told me a year ago that the sequel to that clown murder movie, which, has become a slasher icon, would be on my top 20 list, I would have said you're kind of crazy. Because the first Terrifier, while it wasn't bad, it was just kind of okay. It wasn't doing anything new with the slasher genre, it wasn't pushing anything forward. And I'm not saying that this one does either, but what I am saying is that it plays in its genre so well. It just does everything big. It goes over the top and everything. The gore is too much, but that's the point. The acting is overacting, but that's the point. The whole movie is a little too long, but I guess that's the point. It's just, this film is so full of itself in the best way. It's so overindulgent, but it really works. And I'm glad to have a new slasher icon on our hands with Art the Clown. And I'm looking forward to seeing Terrifier 3. Number 18, Lightyear. Now, Lightyear is the movie that inspired the toy from Toy Story in universe. It's a hard movie to market, which I assume is why the movie didn't do well. Because I thought this movie was great. And a lot of people, I think, had weird expectations going into it. They're expecting a grand space opera, but they got not that. They got a more subdued, more adult movie, but still being kind of a kid's movie. It's a weird movie, and I can see why people would be turned off by it, but I was not. I thought this movie was great. I thought the humor was good. Fox the Cat is fantastic. Obviously, Pixar does some great animation work. I think the music is really good. I think the messaging is really good. If you were turned off by some of the reviews, don't listen to them. Listen to me. That's who you're listening to right now. I liked Lightyear a lot. I'm glad to have it here at number 8. Number 17, Nope. The newest film from Jordan Peele, Nope, came out this summer, and it is about a UFO, maybe? A weird cloud, maybe? Maybe we're just making stuff up. What it's really about is I won't get into it, because that kind of is the point of the movie. There's a lot of great characters. I love Daniel Kaluuya. I really like Keke Palmer in this. A lot of good stuff in this. I think this movie is better made than the next couple ahead of it, but watching it, I didn't love it. I felt it a little draggy, but on the positive side, Jordan Peele is an excellent filmmaker. I am always going to look forward to what he does next, and this is no exception. A great addition to the Jordan Peele legacy. Number 16, The Bad Guys. Now, it's interesting seeing DreamWorks one-up a Pixar movie, but The Bad Guys is a super fun, interesting. It's good. It's a great movie, in fact. It is super flashy. I love the animation style. It's 3D animated, but it kind of looks 2D animated, so it can do a lot more flashy stuff, and it's a lot in your face, and it's a lot of fun. I really like the main cast of characters. There's a couple of weird things, like I don't understand why everyone in this world isn't animals, but that's beside the point, because there's a point where it's like, oh, gee, I wonder who the hidden person is in this situation, and it's the only other animal not involved in the plot. It's like, okay, a little gimme, but nonetheless, I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to revisiting this. I think, we have a great new franchise in our hands. The Bad Guys 2, or Bad Guys, the Bad Batch? I know that's a Star Wars thing, so they can't call it that. Whatever, make a sequel, I'll be there. Number 15, Scream. I want to say Scream 5, but it's just called Scream. Another slasher film. Can't tell I like slasher films. The 5th film in the Scream franchise came out in January. Very weird to have a January film on my best of the year list, but here we are. A film that I feel like was risky to make. Scream 4 I really liked, but okay, we're done. We don't need any more Scream films. Scream comes out and does the whole legacy sequel kind of reboot thing really well. I think it handles itself quite well. I think it does a lot of things well. I think it does the legacy characters justice. It does the new characters really well. I liked a lot of the new characters as well, and that's important in a slasher film. If you like the characters that are getting killed off, that's even better. Scream does that. I'm nervous about next year's Scream, but for now, this one is really good. Number 14. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent stars Nicolas Cage as Nick Cage, a very on-the-nose comedy, joking, poking fun at Nicolas Cage, and I'm so glad he was such a great sport in this. It also stars Pedro Pascal, another actor I really enjoy, in this weird, Nick Cage is the actor, but everyone else is the character. That's like a caper, and it's a crime plot, and a lot of things wrapped up in one. It does everything quite well. It's a lot of fun. I've watched it a couple times this year. It is well worth a laugh. Even if you're not a huge fan of Nicolas Cage, there's a lot to enjoy in this nonetheless. Check it out. It's fantastic. Number 13. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. I was looking forward to this for a long time. Knives Out was on my best of the year list in 2019. I thought it was a fantastic, excellent, glorious return to a genre that has gone by. And this is nonetheless a sequel to that. But it is a little different than that one. Instead of a nice, cozy fall New England town, it is summer in the Greek Isles. And it is not so much the same mystery. It's not even close. This is more straight up a murder mystery than the last movie was. But the way the plot circles around itself, kind of retreads its own ground, is very interesting. I don't love it quite as much as I do the first one, but on a rewatch, maybe I will. I've seen the first one 3 times. I've only seen this one once. So maybe, just maybe, I'll get it up there with it. If you have Netflix, it's right there. It came out about a week ago, so no excuses. Number 12, Bullet Train. What a great action ride through Japan. We have a star-studded cast. Of course, we have Brad Pitt helming the whole thing. It's set on this bullet train. It's whipping through great scenery in Japan. There's a lot of great characters. It's all about assassins killing assassins and what is going on here. There's a big mystery involved in it. There's, oh my god, the action is so good. Made by one of the guys who does Deadpool. What's not to love? If I can't sell you on that, just pure action, pure go, pure adrenaline, then what do you don't check it out, I guess, but do it. It's great. Number 11, Prey. The prequel, I guess, to Predator is, what if we dropped a Predator and have the Predator fight Native Americans? What an idea. What a simple idea executed to the fullest potential. I Did not expect a ton of this. I was actually a little nervous because it just kind of dropped on Hulu this summer. But after it came out, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was constantly like running through my head of like, what are other ideas we can do with the Predator? Let's put the Predator in every scenario we can think of. Historical context, whatever. Drop a Predator in. I want to see Predators fight knights. I want to see him fight samurai. I want to see him fight whatever. Wherever they want to put a Predator, do it. This film proved that they can do it really well. I think is a star-making performance for a lot of these actors who I haven't seen in a lot of stuff before this, but this will break them out big time, and I look forward to watching it again someday. Number 10, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. The only MCU film on this list, and I honestly, before going into this, I suspected that there wasn't going to be any MCU movies on this list, but here we are, and I'm happy to have one. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever had a very tough time dealing with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and it handles the film way better than I expected it to. It wasn't even close to the level I thought it was going to be. I was very scared they were going to like go in the astral plane and he was going to be CGI'd there. Nothing like that. It handles it phenomenal. It's a brilliant way to pay homage to a character so many people loved, and the movie beside it also works really well. Namor is a fantastic character, such a goofy character that does some crazy stuff in the comics, and it's great to see him on screen and done in such a way that it doesn't feel goofy. Like, we live in a time where both Aquaman and Namor are on the big screen, and neither of them feel that goofy, which is amazing. I think M'Baku continues to be my favorite character, and I think all of Wakanda is so well realized. The fact that Angela Bassett gives such a performance that it's honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she got nominated for an acting category for a Marvel film. That hasn't happened. I would not be surprised if it did. Great movie. Number 9, Turning Red. The other Pixar movie that came out this year, and I feel like has been a little forgotten about, which is a shame, because back at the beginning part of this year, I checked this movie out. I actually, in fact, watched it with my mom, so I know it's about a daughter and a mother, so it didn't affect us in the same way the movie wanted to. The movie's great. It's so 90s. It's set in Toronto. Pixar has great art senses, and this one has its own distinct style. It feels very filled with culture and filled with love, and it knows what it's trying to do, and it really fulfills everything it's doing. It has a lot of magic, and it has a lot of down-to-earth, coming-of-age stuff that just it blends so well together. And it creates a movie that I wish more people would have seen. I wish it got a theatrical release, because I think this could have been a big deal. Instead, it kind of got overshadowed by the hype for Lightyear. Then Lightyear didn't do good, so it kind of got pushed down. But not for me. It's here. It is at number 9. And honestly, if it won for Best Animated Picture, I'd be very happy. But I'd be more happy if... Number 8, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. If this one won for Best Animated Film, this movie had no right being as good as it was. It has been, 12, 13 years since the last Puss in Boots movie, which was the last thing of the Shrek universe. And I wasn't expecting anything when I first heard this movie was coming out. Nothing. I'm like, that movie's gonna be fine. I thought the first Puss in Boots was fine. Wow, was I wrong. They really took some great pointers from the bad guys, that flashy, energetic animation style, and pumped Puss in Boots full of adrenaline and just let him go. But not only that, not only is the action a lot of fun, this movie is also slightly scary, which is really cool. There's a great wolf character that I won't spoil what his deal is, but he's great in it. There's some adult themes. The Shrek universe before it, there's, a lot of adult themes and jokes and stuff, but this one really focuses in on Puss in Boots as a character. It's very introspective, and I think it's wonderful. I really thought it was wonderful. Didn't expect much out of it, and I'm glad it's so good. I really am glad that Shrek, because I love Shrek 2. I love Puss in Boots since I was a kid. And to see him have his own movie and it be this good, it's wonderful. Number 7, RRR, or Triple R, I guess. I'm going to call it either one sporadically, but Triple R is a Tollywood, a Telugu-based Indian film, starring some huge actors from over there. I don't want to sound like I know what I'm talking about, because I really don't know much about Indian cinema. But I do know is that this movie took the Western world by storm. It absolutely, like, shot in popularity. Everyone was talking about it. I waited and waited and waited until finally Netflix had the English dub. And before you yell at me, they didn't have the Telugu original either. I wasn't going to watch it dubbed in a different language if that language wasn't mine. You know what I'm saying? Because it was dubbed in Hindi, it's not the original language. So if it was going to watch it dubbed, I might as well watch it dubbed for me. You catch my drift? Anyways, I'd love to watch it in the original Telugu one day. This movie was 3 hours. It did not feel that long. It was so much action, the craziest action I've seen in a long time. Like, it doesn't care that some of the CG looks a little spotty. It doesn't care that the stuff is goofy and doesn't make much sense. It just does it. And you just ride with it. It doesn't matter that, like, some terrible stuff would be happening. There's, like, a torture scene and someone starts singing, and it's not out of place at all. It's not out of place at all. It becomes a musical. It doesn't matter. It does matter, but it doesn't, you know? Hard to explain. Watch Triple R. It's fantastic. Number 6. The Fabelmans. Movie about Steven Spielberg growing up. And what a touching story about a kid falling in love with something and just wanting to do one thing. And not only that, it's about his parents and the struggles they went through. It's just everyday life. But it makes everyday life seem grand. And it just paints this picture of a child and him growing up. If you love film, and I think you do because you're watching this, you know, you don't have to be a filmmaker. You could love making anything. You could love painting. You could love knitting. You could love making music. Whatever your creative juice is flowing, you'll find something in this that speaks to you. And I think that's what's really magical about it. It's really special to have a great new Spielberg movie again. And right now, it sits at number 6. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. Number 5. Pearl. I wasn't expecting this. I was not expecting this at all. Earlier this year, a movie called X came out. And it was a movie that got a decent amount of hype, so I watched it. I didn't love it. I thought it was a little too dry, a little too slow. It's a slasher film, so it should have been around my alley, but it wasn't. It just didn't hit with me. All of a sudden, you know, not too long after that came out, it was already announced that a sequel had already been shot. It was coming out later the same year. Called Pearl. It's not a sequel, it's a prequel, whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'll check that out too, because I'm sure people are going to like it. And it's connected, and we have a new slasher universe, because this was before, you know, Terrifier 2 took the world by storm as well. So, I check out Pearl, and I actually own it. Side note, I was thinking about putting the movies behind me, but I didn't want any spoilers this time. I wanted nothing to point out that, like, anything is in my top 20, but I own Pearl. I bought it before I watched it. Risky move, considering I didn't like X that much. I watched it. I thought it was fantastic. Mia Goth gives one of the best performances of the year, if not the best. I think that this movie completely stands on its own. You don't have to have seen X to enjoy this. It's more than a slasher movie. It's not even really a slasher film. It is a little. It has slasher elements. It's very thought-provoking. It's a lot of people comparing it to the Joker, and I would agree. It's about a terrible person that you can connect with, which is... It makes you feel a little horrible inside, that you're like, this person's doing terrible things, but I can see why. It just works. I think this is star-making potential for both Mia Goth and the director Ty West. This is the third one coming. I'm looking forward to it. Pearl is really something special. It's the best horror film of the year, in a year that had a lot of good horror films. It's very simple. It can be a little slow, I would say, but I just let it take its time, and when it works, it really works. Just give it a shot. Number 4, The Northman. If you asked me, after I watched The Northman the first time, hey Dan, do you think that's going to be your 4th favorite movie this year? I would have said probably not. But as the months went on, the year went on, I continuously thought about The Northman. I thought about its scale. I thought about how brutal it can be. I thought about its no holds barred feeling. It's so is what it is. You know, there's magical elements, but is it like hallucinations or is that real? There's no brevity. There's no... I say there's no excitement, but there like is. But the excitement isn't like fun excitement. It's not like, yay, the heroes have come to save us. It's like very thought-provoking of like, what does it mean to do revenge? What does it mean to like fully lose yourself in something this bleak and cold, and it just seeps into you when you're watching it. And it starts big and it has a big action scene at the beginning, and then it has a grand finale, but all that stuff in the middle is so just character driven, and there's so much to dig into, and it feels a little familiar because this is based on old Icelandic or Viking tales, not exactly sure which, and those were the inspiration for Hamlet. And then Hamlet was the inspiration for The Lion King. So as I was watching this in theaters, I'm like, hey, this reminds me of The Lion King. I wonder why that is. This is why. Yeah, stories get retold. But if you want to see something that is true Viking, true Icelandic, true cold, you can't beat it. I'm a director that I haven't loved before. The Northman, I love. Number 3. Top Gun Maverick. Sitting here now, it's obvious that this film is going to be this high. A year ago, I would have said I was nuts. I put this high. What are you talking about? Top Gun 2 is number 3 of the year? Are you joking? Top Gun Maverick is the 3rd best movie of the year. What a great IMAX experience. Sit down, just feel it. I know I was right at home. I was in good hands. The beginning, it was pretty much a shot-for-shot remake of the first movie. Kenny Loggins, that danger zone hits, we kick off, and we're good to go. From that point on, I knew I was in great hands. We were rocking, we were rolling the whole movie. Didn't let up. Didn't feel as long as it did, and I rewatched it. Same deal. Cooked just as good the second time. Felt just as good the second time. Loved it just the same. Didn't miss a beat. I don't know how they managed to make a just alright 80s film and just pluck all the great elements of that, cram it with a great story, and send it off. Look what we got. Top Gun Maverick. 3rd best of the year. Crazy. Number 2. Now, before I say it, I do want to say that it took a while. It took months. The rest of this list kind of fell into place pretty easily, but number 1 and 2 took months of contemplating, is this one better? Is that one better? I had to rewatch both. I watched both of these twice. Number 2, the film I saw, I heard great things. I went into it kind of expecting great things, and yet I was not disappointed. This film is everything, everywhere, all at once. This film is near impossible to describe in a way that does it justice. It is a multiverse film, yes. It is a film about doing taxes, yes. It is a film about a mother and a daughter, yes. It is a kung fu movie, yeah. There's so much this movie is that you just have to experience it firsthand. There was a point in this that I started crying and I started laughing at the same time, which I don't think has ever happened. Like, not like happy crying, like a full-on, like, sob. And I was laughing as I was crying. Like, I just had a full mix of emotions. After this movie was done, I didn't know what to do with myself. I kind of slowly walked out of the theater and walked back to my car. I just had, like, a contemplative, like, half an hour of, like, I don't know what I just saw. But I know it was wonderful. I know it was something that I'll remember for a long time. And I gotta tell everyone to watch that. So, it's number 2. Number 1! Okay. It's the Batman. What do you want? What do you want from me? I haven't felt so much hype behind a movie in a long time. I haven't felt that full-on feeling, that little tender jealousy I used to get about 10 years ago when I would see reviewers get to go to a movie early and they get to talk about it a week before it came out. Like, I got very jealous and I got very annoyed. It's like, why did they get to do that? Kind of felt the same thing here. So, of course, I was there opening night. Earliest I could see the Batman, I was there. 3 hours felt like a half an hour. Obviously this film does a lot in those 3 hours, but it never lets up. It was never a moment I was like, I didn't need that, or I didn't want that, or that could have been done better. Not one. And this movie just hits the ground and it just goes. It never stops. And when it comes to an end, it's like, was that the best Batman movie I've ever seen in my entire life? You know? Which is a crazy thought. Because we've had The Dark Knight. We've had different interpretations of Batman over the years. When discussing the Batman, it comes down to, really, it's like, I watched it again. The parts that hit me the first time hit me again the same way. There was not a moment in this film that affected me in the first one that didn't affect me in the second view. I'll tell you what, when that Batmobile shows up, it is the coolest thing ever. I've never been this excited for a Batmobile before. And wow, did it not disappoint. Robert Pattinson, it's been almost a year since this came out, and I'm like almost ready to say he's my favorite Batman. Zoe Kravitz is a wonderful Catwoman. I'm almost like coming up speechless, trying to discuss and articulate why I love this movie so much, but it works the whole time. I think the biggest complaint going in was like, oh, it's going to be too long. It's 3 hours. It's going to be too long. It was never too long for me. I would have happily sat for another 3 hours in this world. If it was this well paced, had that much more story to tell, absolutely. I'd have sat there the whole time. No problem. It's wonderful. It's the Batman. It's the best movie of the year. And I'm happy to call it that. So, that is my list for my top 20 films of 2022. It's crazy that we're here. It's crazy that we're discussing such things. There's a couple movies that almost made the list. Follow me on Letterboxd, and I talk about them there. Feel free to yell at me about how I didn't like, I don't know, are there any fans of like Jurassic World Dominion out there that are going to tell me I'm wrong? I don't know. Avatar, a lot of Avatar fans, they put them. If you loved Avatar, that's fantastic. I'm happy for you. Didn't make my list, that's okay. But that'll about do it for me. Thank you so very much for watching. Have a very happy new year, and as always, like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you